Singing is the lowest form of communication.
Maria Callas said to sing is an expression of your being. Edith Piaf said singing was a way of escaping. And yes, Homer, the other Homer, said it was the lowest form of communication. What do you think? Why do we sing? Where does the voice come from? My name is Karen Myatt, and I pose these questions and more to some of the greatest singers of our time. Welcome to La Voce Vita. It is a great pleasure to welcome today's guest, six-time Maple Blues Award winner. She took home the first place prize at the International Blues Challenge in Memphis. And in 2020, she won the Juno Award for Blues Album of the Year. This list goes on and on. So it goes without saying that I'm truly honored to welcome Dawn Tyler Watson. Dawn, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks for having me.
I'm always so excited to speak to local artists, and especially one known as Montreal's Queen of the Blues. But perhaps a good place to start would be with where you're originally from and how you got started in music.
Well, I was originally born in England. I was brought over, we immigrated here to London, Ontario when I was 4 years old. And music was always part of my upbringing. My parents, I guess they realized pretty young that I could sing. I was nonstop singing everything all the time. So, you know, we joined, when we moved to London, we joined the local church there, and I joined the children's choir. And then as I got older, my brother learned how to play guitar. He taught me how to play guitar. We were both in the folk choir. At 10 years old, my folks sent me and my brother, he's 3 years older than me, we went to choir school. So which is pretty cool when I think about it, because I know people I grew up with that went to choir school, but I didn't really know there was that thing. I've never heard of it as an adult. So we're very blessed to do that. It's like, I guess today what would be called here in Montreal an arts specific school or something. And I learned violin and more choir singing, and we competed, and it was really cool. I mean, that's how I basically started in my original training in voice, was from that age. But as long as I remember, I was singing and I was mimicking. I was a big mimicker.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about that when we talk about singing and how you got started. And I'm sure you had some specific influences and singer artists that particularly that you were mimicking or imitating from a young age.
Yeah, well, we listened to top 40 radio. So I was imitating everything I heard, from Styx to Donny Osmond and Michael Jackson, Anne Murray, Kenny Rogers, John Denver. There was a lot of, my folks were into country. My mom loved the country singers and Dean Martin. And so whatever I heard. And it's interesting because now, as today, as when I coach singers and stuff, I've worked with quite a bit of young people, and I was actually working at a high school. And so you're working with these 12 to 15, 16-year-old kids, and they can sing songs exactly like the record. But it's so difficult for singers, I think, young singers, to find their own voice. So it's something I'm really passionate about helping singers do, and young people do, and in general. So for me, I mean, it kind of developed top 40. And then when I started playing guitar, started a little bit of writing my own songs. So then my more, I guess, authentic voice came out.
I have found when I've done coaching as well, and I found in my own career that it took many, many, many years for me to find my own voice. And I think now more than ever, young people are so able to mimic. It's incredible. And they really learn how to sing by just ear. And they don't have a whole lot of more knowledge about the voice itself and maybe technique and that sort of thing. So I think you studied jazz in Montreal. So what was your training like?
I moved to Montreal. I followed a friend of mine who came here and enrolled at Concordia and got into the composition classical department. And she said, you should come and study jazz. I luckily got in. I was never really a big, huge jazz fan, but I got in, and I guess it's funny because what I had learned as a youth, I'd kind of forgotten everything I had a pretty rough teenagehood, and I kind of dropped out of high school as soon as I got there. And then I spent a lot of time, partying and running wild. And it's funny because I remember learning to read music as a kid when I was playing violin, but a lot of it didn't stick. I had a bit of a troubled childhood. And so as soon as I could, I got out of there. I loved singing. I always knew I loved singing. And when I got, was able to sneak into bars and stuff, I would get up on stage with the band and sing. And for me, it was always that affirmation that I got, validation. It was like, wow, you're really good. And I didn't have that at home. Unfortunately, my folks didn't know what to do with me. I was pretty, difficult kid. So I had some issues, learning disabilities and behavioral stuff. And so they didn't know how to deal with me. So I got a lot of negative enforcement at home. And so I took off, I ran away. And so when I found music, it was when I started singing, and I would get all this love and adoration. And you should go on Star Search, which is definitely dating myself. In the 80s, it's like, you should go on Star Search. You're so good. You should be like Canadian Idol or whatever today, or, and so that it was kind of like, oh, there's something good I'm good at, there's something good in me. And so it's a really, for me, when I got to Concordia, it was such a gift. It really was the beginning of a healing for me to be able to be recognized. Getting accepted into Concordia was huge, for me, because I got it. I didn't remember any of the theory. I'm sure I flunked the theory tests, even though my friend, she prompted me, and, we did some studying, and I couldn't remember anything, but I nailed the audition. And so I to this day, if I'd have thought I tried to get into McGill, it would not have happened, but I wouldn't have gotten in. But Concordia embraced me. And so I started learning again. I studied voice. I was introduced to technique, which I never had before. So and from then it was really a nurturing environment for me to grow as a singer.
It sounds like singing kind of saved you, or found you, or took care of you. So we know why you started singing. I think this might be a good time to ask a question that I ask a lot of people, and it's a little abstract, but I think you're probably right in tune with this sort of thing. And that is, where does the voice come from? So for a lot of people, it's maybe a genetic thing, a generational thing, a cultural thing, or maybe it's more spiritual. Perhaps you're a messenger of some higher power or energy source. Where does your voice come from?
Yeah, I definitely think I'd be the latter. I do believe, like so many traits, you're passed on, the color of your eyes. So there's a certain amount of thing in there. There's a certain amount of genetics involved. But for me, I do believe singing, especially performing, when you find this as a vocation and it becomes your life and you want to be a singer, you're a messenger. It's so important to me. And I get into the whole style of music. You're singing death metal, or whether you're singing, gospel. It's like, yes, one could be considered more spiritual than the other, but I don't know. I really believe the voice is a spiritual thing. And it's physically, it comes from the whole body. So often working with singers, as you probably know, people will get stuck here in their throat, or they lose their voice so easily because they're focusing on the voice box. Like, this is my chords, it's all about in here, and there's so much tension in the throat. It's like, no, you need to be loose in the knees, grounded in the ground. You need to be loose and comfortable in your body. You need to keep your spine erect and the jaw relaxed, and just use the whole body to sing.
Yeah.
So I believe in that. So the gift of singing and the ability, the talent, the raw talent that you have, or that you develop because you love to sing. You have singers of different, don't compare yourself. To me, the worst thing you can do, because your voice is your voice, your instrument is your instrument. We're like snowflakes, that everyone is different, and bring me back to mimicry, right? At some point, it's great if you can sing just like Celine Dion and make a living in Vegas doing that, and a very, very good one, because there are people who do that, who impersonate. Fantastic. Is there joy in that for you? Great. Do you love it? Great. You know, but finding your own authentic voice and your own message and being able to share that with the world, that is what I believe is the spiritual aspect of singing. It's a gift you've been given that you're meant to share.
I got a V-neck sweater and a push-up bra. The little bit I got is working really hard. Tight black pants, high heel boots. When I walk down the street, the cars go toot toot. I look good.
Yeah, yeah, she look good.
Oh yeah, I'm a good-looking mama. Don't take your eyes off of me. You know my old man left me for another girl. Broke my little heart and made my stomach hurl. But I don't let that bring me down. I take my big old frown and turn it upside down. Look good.
Yeah, yeah, she look good.
Hell yeah, I'm a good-looking mama. Don't take your eyes off of me. See, I will never let you see me sweat. I keep a twinkle in my eye and a bounce in my step. Back straight, chest out, head held high. I'm an independent woman who don't need no guy. There ain't no doubt about it, I'm a tasty dish. The men are always calling, I got plenty of fish. Check my lines, my product's fine. When I find Mr. Right, I'm gonna make him mine. I look good.
Yeah, yeah, she look good.
Hell yeah, I'm a good-looking mama. Don't take your eyes off of me.
I think everybody should start their day with "I look good" from your latest album. Like that, there's your affirmation. Like for the day, just go forward after listening to that one. But a lot of your music is original, although you have done a few really awesome covers. I just discovered the other day that you covered my favorite song ever, which is Zeppelin's Rain Song. Oh my God. I was so excited when I heard that, and it's beautiful. It's just so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't expect that one coming. I was just thinking of Come Together or even the Nikita Bar or something, you know, like a lot of people do Cold Shot. But yeah, oh, that's so lovely. Thank you. I'm so glad you like that.
The springtime of my loving, the second season. I am to know you are the sunlight in my growing. So little warmth I felt before. It isn't hard to feel it glow. Watch the fire that grew so low.
But I'd love to know about your songwriting process. So for you, what comes first? Is it music? Is it lyrics? I know blues is a lot about lyrics and storytelling, but maybe it's the arrangement, a concept. What's your process like?
First thing, I have to stop being busy and moving around, activity, to just get centered, because yeah, the music comes when you sit down and do it. And I'm currently writing some stuff, but it depends. Sometimes I could be driving, you know, up to Chicoutimi, and I'm just, oh wow, that's a great title. Something comes into my head and I'm like, that's a great title, you know, like, and I'll start, oh, well, that's the title. Then I want to keep writing something out, you know, like it'll come from a title or it'll come from a line. Sometimes I can write without a guitar. Sometimes I get because I'm a very limited guitar player, I'm sad to say. I learned at 13 and I got the basic country chords down and little, this and that, but that's about where I'm still at today. So when I sit down and write a song, often it comes out like a 3-chord folk country, thing. I can play blues in one key. I use a capo. I'm like, I cheated, but it's part of, I do believe if I played better guitar, I could probably have, as soon as someone shows me something on the guitar, oh, check this progression out, I'm like, oh, that's cool, then I can write a song. But it's, to answer your question, it really depends. Sometimes the lyrics will come first, sometimes the title will come, sometimes I'll be playing a guitar thing and I'll just start singing something over it. So yeah, it really depends.
Do you collaborate? You've got, I know you work with Racine, you've got Paul Deslauriers, a couple of albums with him. Do you songwrite together or do you come from separate places with that?
I have done some writing with Matt Lipscomb, who wrote Son of a Gun on the Jawbreaker album. And we sat together and he would call me up during the pandemic, let's get together. And we did Zoom and, where I'd go over to his place. At some point it was really cool. He'd be always saying, let's write. So it's an interesting question for me because I don't know why. It's always been a really personal journey for me. So I always feel like I'll write the song and then I'll give it to the incredibly brilliant Ben Racine, who can come up with a little mock-up of it in a second, has horn ideas, harmonies, different chords. And, the reason Mad Love is so great, it's because of Ben and the guys in the band, because they were able to take my little 3-chord ditties and turn them into these, fabulously arranged songs and give it a coherent sound.
Right.
A coherent sound. So yeah, I'd like to co-write more with people. I've just always found it a personal thing. And then there's a block comes in my mind that, well, I have a box full of pieces of paper and half-written songs that often feel to me emotionally like abandoned children. It's like, they're like abandoned, sitting in that box waiting for it. And every time I go away to the country for a few days or a week or so, I'll take the box with me, I'll open it up and I'll try to put some tunes together. And some of those tunes that like are on Mad Love were started 10 years 15 years ago. It's like, so that said, I feel like there's still stuff I have that I need to finish. Emotionally, it's strange for me, but it's not that I'm opposed to co-writing. I've taken songs from people as well and then added things to them, as in, oh, you sent me that song, oh, I think I can write a bridge to that, change the words a bit here, and we call it a co-write. But to sit down in the same room and write, I bet you any money it would be really good for me to do that, more often.
The album Jawbreaker has so many great tracks on it. But the one that I want to ask you about, because it's maybe the most Montreal song I've ever heard, which is Smoked Meat. I'd love to know where that came from besides, the obvious.
Well, that's an example I was thinking of for a title. I was like, all right, this song called Smoked Meat. Now, it was back in Concordia when we were working on, piano proficiency. There's a piano proficiency course or element of getting your degree. And so I came up with this and I could play it on piano, and I practiced it and it got stuck in my head years before I came to Jawbreaker. That's like 15 years that I had that lick in my head. And at some point we got together with the boys, I was like, what do you think of this line? And licks are something that I will write in my head. I'll have licks. My phone is full of little recordings of, oh, I like this bass line, or I like this groove, or whether it's a horn line or whatever, it's there. I love it. And it's usually funky. So that's where that song came from. And then that I am from Montreal, and I just wrote a silly song. Some of my songs are silly and fun, and I like that. And so, yeah, it came out of that. I started writing the song about a smoked meat sandwich. Now, interestingly enough, when we get on stage, it turns into, tongue in cheek, and it can be perceived as a very kind of sexual innuendos.
Right.
A lot of people think that, and I never thought about that when I was writing it.
You were just thinking about the deli,
I
man.
was thinking about the darn smoked meat sandwich, how I like it, stacked high on 2 pieces of rye bread with a big dill pickle, and
Right.
so
Maybe Montrealers get that. Perhaps the rest of the world takes it in a different direction.
maybe,
Yeah.
but that's an example of how the spiritual aspect of singing and songwriting, performing and stuff takes on a life of its own. It really does. I can't control everything. Like I write the song and then I let it go. And then when I perform it, I'll find different facets of it, different messages that I didn't think were there before. So believe me, that smoked meat song turned into, there's no innuendos about it when I perform it. It's very, out there. Yeah. Come on. I like my burgers medium rare with a little hot sauce to keep the curl in my hair. And if I go out to the Burger King, my mind obsesses on just one thing. I want smoked meat. Smoke meat. Smoke meat. I want smoked meat. Now, a vegetarian I am not. I like some meat up in my chili pie. And even my mama's sweet potato fries only tend to make me realize that I want smoked meat.
Smoke meat.
Smoke meat. Give me that smoked meat.
Smoke meat.
Smoke meat. Pile it on. Juicy big dill pickles with a side order of coleslaw. Hot mustard with cream cheese. All piled up on 2 slices of fresh, hot rye bread. Yeah, you know how I like it, baby.
There's quite a few times where you sing duets, mostly with male voices. And I think Ben Racine is an amazing collaboration for you. It's like a match made in heaven. How did that start?
Well, that's my then manager and agent, Brian Slack. At the time, Paul Deslauriers and I had been playing together for 14 years. We toured. We had 2 really successful albums. We kind of came out of the studio with a little bit of, okay, we're on Duo was really successful and we toured a lot. And then in 2012 we did Southland, and it felt a bit more of a challenge in the studio. It wasn't as congruent. It was really, I had a will of the song going this way and Paul had a will going that way. And so it wasn't that it created, it created a bit of a musical rift. And he had started playing more with his trio and I had been starting doing more jazz. And so within maybe 2013, a year after, maybe 2 years after the album came out, we kind of just drifted apart. Stopped doing our albums so much, our shows together so much, and started doing our own thing. And there was nothing in it that was like, okay, I've had enough of you or anything. It just naturally went that way. Anyway, when I stopped working with Paul so much, I had been doing duo stuff for so long, so acoustic. So I needed to have a band back. And Brian was like, come check out this band. And he actually gave me Ben's album, his first album. And I listened to it and I went, oh, he's a great lyricist, actually. Ben's a great songwriter, and I loved his lyrics, and I liked the cheek and the fun element and his wittiness. And then I went to see them out in the West Island, and I got up on stage and played with them, and they were the most respectful, wonderful young guys, and they were just so come on up on stage, and they still are to me. They're just so embracing, and it just started there. We started doing shows together. They've always been super supportive of me, and musically it just became a fit. It became a fit. Again, things take on a life of their own.
Yeah, and he's got a great voice as well. You guys work really well together that way.
Yeah, it's very contrasting. It's a nice contrast. And yeah, some of the tunes that we do live are my favorite. One of them is the duet we do together, A Little Bit More.
To let you walk out my back door, but I've been thinking about you lately, and how maybe I like just a little bit more.
Now I know we made mistakes, baby, had some real bad praise. That last fight left us feeling so
very sorry.
But baby, I've been thinking about it, and there's no way I can doubt it. I'm thinking maybe need a little bit more.
Oh, yeah. A little of your loving, a little of your rubbing,
kissing, 'cause a little something's missing. There's a hole you left in my heart and in my life.
I'm putting my cards on the table. I need to know if you're able, 'cause baby, way down deep in my core,
I'm on fire. Fan the flames of my desire and give me just a little bit more.
Yeah,
How do you prepare for live performance? I know touring is very grueling, especially for vocalists.
As I've gotten wiser, shall we say, there's certain things I really need. Of course, you have to hear yourself singing the blues. You've got wailing guitars, horn players competing for those same frequencies as your voice. So I make sure I have two monitors that pointed directly at my ears, not in front of me, and not, I need them in a certain way. Make sure I can hear my vocals clearly. That's the most important thing, because when you're touring, unless you're lucky enough to have your own sound man and to travel with your own sound system, you never know what you're going to get. So I will also bring earplugs, which I have molded to my ears so that I can always hear, at least one side. I don't like to do it completely because I find it cuts out the energy of the room. But that's it. And then, of course, lots of water and lots of sleep.
If you had to put one single song in every set for your entire career, what would it be and why?
Oh my gosh, Karen, I wish you'd given me some heads up on that question.
I
That's
know.
like, what do you want on your desert island? Your 3 records, man. It's difficult to say. I have so many songs. I have the one song that comes to mind that I adore singing is a song it was popularized by Bonnie Raitt. I can
Yeah.
make you love me.
It's kind of a country tune. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. You can make your heart feel something it won't know here in the dark. It's just a beautiful song.
Oh,
These final hours. Oh, and I think probably because it's a song that was really took me through a moment when I was really in pain, from it's about unrequited love. So, and I was really in a real broken space, and I would just bawl to that song forever and ever, and I'd sing along to it. And I had the George Michael version as well. And I never thought of performing it. And then, about 4 or 5 years ago, I put it in my jazz set, and I love singing it.
Turn down the light, turn down the bed, turn down these voices inside my head. Lay down with me, tell me no lies, just hold me close, don't patronize, don't patronize me, 'cause I can't make you love me if you don't. You can't make your heart feel something it won't know here in the dark. In these final hours, I will lay down my heart, and I'll feel the power, but you won't. You won't, and I can make you love me if you I'll close my eyes, then I won't see the love you don't feel. You're holding me. The morning will come, and I will do what's right. Just give me till then to give up this fight, and I will give up this fight.
perhaps maybe you could share a bit of advice. I know you already talked about, mimicking and finding your own voice and your authentic self, but if you had any other advice that you wanted to share with a new singer or somebody starting out a career or somebody picking it up for fun.
Yeah, sing for the joy of singing. I really, even if you're looking to do it for a career, I wouldn't lose sight of that as a beacon, that I do this because I love it. I mean, the same friend of mine that we moved here and I followed her to go to school. We opened up something called Vocal Expression Montreal, and we would work specifically with people. We ran a bunch of workshops, and we would work with people who loved to sing but didn't think they could, which is so many people. Right? Oh, I can't sing. If you can talk, you can sing. I believe that. And I believe that we all have a voice and that there's so much joy in singing. If you take a group of children, like, 5 years old, and you tell them to sing, there's absolutely no ego. There's no comparison. There's no, they just open their mouths and sing for the joy of it. And culturally, globally, there's so many cultures that singing is just a big part of it. There's not, there's not this self-conscious, oh no, my voice is ugly thing, So working with these singers, I'd also find out, I'd say, when you're alone in your car, when you're in the shower, oh, I can sing. It's getting in front of people that screws us up. So I would say, don't lose that light, that joy of singing. And I truly believe, and you said it at the beginning of our conversation, I don't know if it was on the actual recording at that time, about listening to certain songs that just bring you joy, that you can feel the joy in some of my recordings. And that was a huge compliment to me, because to me, that's what it's all about, to share that joy. And yes, I've had people at certain concerts come up to me with tears in their eyes, and there are very emotional moments in my show where it's like really dark, but at the end of it, there's this joy of living, that's what's important for me. And when I do, I find so much joy. That's my real happy place. So that would be my recommendation, like, no matter what you do, find the joy, be yourself, and love it. And if you love it, the audience will love it. They really will.
Thank you, Dawn. It's such a pleasure to speak with you. I know that the listeners will get so much out of what you had to say. So thank you again for being with me today.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me. And thank you for doing this, Karen. It's necessary. I think it's wonderful.
And thank you for joining us for this interview with vocalist Dawn Tyler Watson. To learn more about Dawn, visit DawnTylerWatson.com. And to hear more, follow the link in the description below to the Spotify playlist inspired by today's episode. If you enjoyed La Voce Vita, please share it and subscribe to the Karen Myatt YouTube channel, or visit KarenMyatt.ca for more news and information. Follow us on social media and click the bell to be notified when we release a new episode. Finally, we want to hear from you. If you have a question, a suggestion, a request, or music to share, feel free to send us a note in the comments below or at KarenMyatt.ca/message. Until next time, I'm Karen Myatt, and thanks for listening to La Voce Vita.